When people hear the phrase Celebration Florida, they obviously immediately think of Disney, but today's conversation isn't really about Disney. It's about a question that feels very relevant, which is, can community be created? In the 90s, Celebration Florida was envisioned as a walkable town inspired by traditional neighborhoods where front porches faced the street, parks invited people out, and neighbors actually knew one another. And over the years, what began as an ambitious planning experiment became home to thousands of people who arrived without shared history but gradually built one together. Today I'm joined by Kathleen Sipio of the Celebration Foundation, which is an organization dedicated to strengthening that sense of belonging through the arts, education, culture, and community service. We explore what Celebration has taught her about everything from friendship and tradition to civic life, and why creating community is less about where we live than how we choose to show up for one another. This conversation was informative and super interesting because we're kind of using it as almost like this case study in building community, but also hopefully inspiring and gives you takeaways that you can use to create community in your own community. So here's my conversation with Kathleen Sipio. Welcome to Grandma Silver, where tradition meets today. I'm Allie, your host of the Grandma Silver podcast and founder of the Grand Millennial Lifestyle. Here, we blend aesthetics with nostalgia, engaging in conversations with lifestyle brands, designers, and more to rediscover the timeless charm of the past. Join me as we journey from home to heart, illuminating the past and polishing the present with the gleam of Grandma Silver. Well, I will start by asking you to just go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Kathleen Sipio, and I am currently in Celebration, Florida. Celebration, Florida is one of the most ambitious projects in the history of the Walt Disney Company, and arguably one of the most successfully planned communities in America. It's a gateless community dedicated to the latest advancements in education, technology, and health, and it is a town that places a high priority on involvement with one's neighbors. I am the executive director of the Celebration Foundation, which was created at the same time by Disney to promote the spirit of volunteerism and civic and social involvement.
So what does the Celebration Foundation currently do?
I would say everything. Our mission statement is to build a better community through the arts, education, and culture in Celebration and beyond.
And what does that look like? I know that's probably a broad question because that's a lot to cover, but could you give us a little synopsis of what perhaps a year in your world looks like?
The short answer is we help students to seniors.
Okay.
So we have two very large programs. One is Learning Without Hunger, and that helps students in Osceola County, Florida, with weekend meal packs so that they don't experience food insecurity when school meals are not available to them. And then we have a Thriving in Place program, and that is for our senior population and any individual with a short-term or long-term disability to remain in their homes, but then come out into the community in our program for socialization, education, and information. And there is about 100 Thriving in Place members right now, and we serve approximately 10,000 students a month through the Learning Without Hunger.
That's amazing. That's a lot of students. Wow. I'm going to go backwards for a second here, and we'll probably do a little bit of ping-ponging throughout because there's overlap in both of these areas. Could we talk for a moment about the history of Celebration? Because, you know, it's quote unquote the town that Disney built, but what does that mean? How did this come to fruition?
The community and the foundation are celebrating 30 years. So we have been having events where I hear something new on a walking tour, or I hear something new in a presentation. Basically, the Walt Disney Company had quite a bit of land close to Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom, and they decided to create a community, and they wanted it. It originally was supposed to be similar to Epcot. It was based on the new Urbanism principle of a master plan community. And it became very, very thoughtful, very detailed, and utilized just architects that were very well known throughout the entire nation to come together and create this community. So when I say very thoughtful and very detailed, most certainly a town center, very similar to the Roman Empire, where trade and people gathered based on savanna, actually, with live oaks, Spanish moss, and a fountain, to sidewalks and walking trails, to smaller lots so that not every home would have a pool in a typical Florida community. So since the smaller lots prohibited a pool, there are almost 10 pools throughout all our villages to encourage people to come out and meet their neighbors and spend time with their neighbors. Those streets curve so that traffic goes slower because there's children and families walking, biking. It really is far beyond the expectations that even when I read about it prior to moving here, or I saw it on TV or in media, it has exceeded my expectations.
To name it celebration is a statement in itself. And do you feel like that has been a goal of the communities then, to maintain that moniker, that spirit?
I would say we have four cornerstones. So we focus on them, which is education, health, sense of community, technology. So I hear that more in our daily lives than actually the word. That's a unique perspective.
Yeah.
Because if I look at it, every day we wake up here, quite frankly, it is a celebration.
You know, you mentioned it kind of being modeled after Savannah, Georgia. So walkable, mixed use community. You mentioned the town center, urbanism. So this emphasis on public spaces, very strong emphasis on neighborhood life. One of the things I think we're talking about today, and when you and I initially connected, was this idea of something that I was really fascinated by. You know, I kind of came into this saying I'd love to talk about hospitality because, you know, almost this idea of, can you design community? And you said something on our phone call, which was really interesting. And you pointed out, yes, because you're starting from scratch. And I think you said something along the lines of, nobody here has roots. And that really stuck with me because I talk a lot about roots on this podcast. And so I would love to hear a little bit more of that perspective from you. And we can maybe get into the rest of like this question of what designing community looks like.
Yes, the town square was based around Savannah, but they definitely took the best from all areas in
Okay.
new urbanism. So it wasn't just based solely on Savannah. So I just wanted to mention
Yeah,
that.
that's good to know.
And of course, Disney takes the best practices from everywhere and executes it on a daily basis. But yes, everyone that was moving here to a completely new community didn't have roots.
Yeah.
Their grandparents didn't live down the street. Their cousins didn't live a mile over. So everyone was new.
Mm-hmm.
And now, 3 decades later, the community and families and individuals have established roots. But where do you even begin? Everyone's coming with different traditions, different culture, maybe different languages even. And we're putting us all together. How do we create organizations, friendships, relationships, careers? How do you build a life? I think that Walt Disney Company established the foundation, I know this, to originally form social opportunities for engagement, where neighbors got to meet neighbors. It was in the form of block parties. It was in the form of events. The school is in the center of the community. Parents got to stand outside during pickup and drop off and meet each other shoulder to shoulder. I often say, if they came back and visited now, what would they think?
What do you think they would think?
It exceeded my expectations. It would be my hope that they would feel the same way.
Could we talk a little bit more about, you've touched on several things about connection. So what aspects of celebration are intentionally creating interaction?
Most certainly the shared public spaces, the small pocket parks, the walking trails. Most people ask, where's your community center? And I say it's outdoors. We have tennis courts, we have basketball courts, we have pools, but everything's outdoors. It's to encourage you to come off your porches, walk on the sidewalks. And I often say more transactions happen on celebration sidewalks than around any conference table.
I don't know if you mentioned it just now. I know we talked originally about some community, I think you mentioned community events. You might not have phrased it that way, but could we talk a little bit about community events?
I don't know where to begin because how what I typically say is there is so much to do in the community of celebration that you have to be very strategic of where you want to spend your time. The Celebration Foundation most certainly has events. Our Celebration Resident Owners Association also has events. Visit Celebration, our commercial neighborhood organization, has events.
Oh.
All our local churches, the schools, you have something to do all the time in celebration.
So let's back up again. And I apologize. I told you I'd be ping-ponging. There's a lot to cover. So if we go back to this concept that there was really no roots, that the neighborhood had to take all this melting pot of people and create community, that also means there were no inherited traditions. And yet it's a town full of traditions.
Yeah.
Where do we know some of the first things that got community forming?
One of them was Lights and Lemonade, created by the foundation for an informal way for neighbors to meet neighbors and network without a personal agenda. It was simply just you committed to baking or buying cookies, having lemonade on your porch with a porch light on during a specific day and a specific time. The first one that the foundation hosted had over 500 residents porch hopping. We brought that tradition back last year. As new residents move in, they get to feel the traditional, and it has been going very well because, number one, people love to host and you get to know so many different people. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, you can say, oh, it's only going to be from 2 to 4. Sometimes I'll go and visit a porch and they're still all talking at 7:00 at night. So it's just an informal way to say, hi, I want to connect with you. And there's no pressure. There's no RSVP. You don't have to buy an elaborate outfit.
What's the frequency with, I know it just kind of came back last year, but is that an annual event?
So we started quarterly to bring it back. Summer is not the best time to have it due to the heat. So we are going to do it seasonally. The next one is scheduled for October.
I heard about this and I thought that was so brilliant. I also particularly like that it's very low pressure. It really just puts the emphasis on the connection. I sort of believe that ritual helps to create belonging. And so I am wondering if there are other annual traditions in celebration. I have to imagine there are.
We have town parades. We just had our July 4th, and I believe it was the most well-attended in years because the 250th. Though it's a short route, neighbors are on their balconies, they're on the curb, they're several deep, they're all down Market Street. I believe we had over 30 community organizations walking in their golf carts, in vehicles, but mostly walking. And so we have a July 4th parade, and then we celebrate Founders Weekend. And that is the first weekend in November. And we have a parade, and then we also have a ceremony for the veterans. And that is an annual tradition. We have a holiday home tour. One woman walked into the foundation office in 1996 and said, is there a junior league? Is there anything? And the foundation said, not that I'm aware of, why don't you start one? And that's what the foundation was supposed to do and continues to do. When residents have an idea to fulfill a need in the community, the foundation is to support, help them be self-sustaining and give them best practices. So this woman reached out to another woman, and both of them started the Women's Club of Celebration, and they started a holiday walk that was 10 seasonally decorated homes by residents that opened their doors one weekend in December for a small fee. Everyone got to walk through the homes, and they raised money and dispersed it to charities. They did that for almost a decade. And then the Women's Club disbanded. And one year there was no holiday walk. And the phone rang at Town Hall. Where is it? This is an annual tradition. The phone rang at the foundation, and I missed it as well. The Garden Club of Celebration adopted it the next year and allowed attendees to see the beautiful gardens in Celebration, which were amazing. But the people still wanted to see inside the home. So the following year, the foundation accepted it, and we have renamed it. So we took it over in 2018, but don't quote me. It might be 20.
No, yeah, that's okay.
And we renamed it the Holiday Home Tour and Magical Marketplace. And it's held the first weekend every December. And it still remains true that residents will call the foundation and say, I would like to put my home on the tour. And they decorate inside and out. All of the proceeds we distribute to community organizations. And the Magical Marketplace is stop number one. And that is for residents that say, I don't want to commit my home, but I have a Christmas problem. And I'd like to donate a 7.5 slim pink flocked tree with a Disney princess theme. And I want to donate this to the Magical Marketplace. I'm not going to tell you what I spent because I had so much joy putting it together. And then the foundation puts a price on it, and all the proceeds, again, are distributed to charities.
That's so nice.
It is well attended. People come from all over. We have a women's group that comes from Canada every year. Our high school students volunteer in each of the homes. I know Starbucks has a red signature cup that comes out around the holidays. We have a red signature t-shirt every year. And they earn Bright Future volunteer hours. So I often say the community of celebration, we honor the spirit of volunteerism, but I also believe we're raising future philanthropists because as they volunteer with us as students, it's our hope that wherever they land, that they're going to also change their community landscape. I could spend a couple podcasts talking about annual traditions. Our porch and yard sale, the town hosts a porch and yard sale the first Saturday in March, first Saturday in October. Residents and visitors love this because you have obviously people that love Disney, so you can get a lot of Disney things. People have good stuff. So that's a lot of fun. We have a celebration, Town of Celebration, half marathon and marathon. I've often said if I ever did a complete marathon, it would be in the community of celebration for several reasons. Number one, if I couldn't make it, I could just run up onto someone's porch and they would take me home. The community loves this event. They have porch parties that are cheering the runners on. Our community organizations host order tables with the Celebration Town Marathon group, and that is an all-volunteer group. They have a volunteer board of directors. All the funds, they have 2,500 runners come every year. It's a flat race course. It's a beautiful race course, goes through our walking trails. It's a Boston qualifier, and all the funds raised, the board of directors from the Celebration Town Marathon distribute to scholarships for all of the schools in Osceola County. They have raised over $1 million since inception, and that is so much fun. That is the last Sunday in January. We have our annual meeting. Our Celebration Resident Owners Association, they have an annual meeting, and we get to hear all the good stuff that our HOA dues have supported all year long. We have now snowing. So it snows in Celebration, Florida every December. The Saturday night, Thanksgiving weekend, is the town tree lighting. And then the snow is nightly. We have leaves falling in Celebration right on Market Street every year. And we are bringing back this year. So we brought back the lights and lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
Previously, from 2003 to 2014, the Great American Pie Festival was here. The phone rang when the holiday walk went away. Well, the phone also is ringing about the Pie Festival. The last time that it was held here in 2014, to put it in perspective, 40,000 people came in 4 days. 804 volunteers were supplied by the foundation, and 90,000 slices of pie were served.
This is my kind of event.
Yes. So we're bringing it back in April 2027. There was a never ending pie buffet. We will be bringing something similar back. There was a pie patrol, and there was lots to do, and we're bringing it back. So that I would put all of those in annual traditions that are happening currently.
Do you feel like because of all these annual traditions, there's emphasis on events, there's emphasis on gathering? So obviously, the founders of Celebration acknowledged that tradition in some level was very important. Do you feel like you see tradition making a difference in the fostering and cultivation of community? Do they matter more than we realize? What is your perspective being part of the behind the scenes and as part of this community that's engaging with all of this all the time?
Absolutely. I think people want traditions. The world's constantly changing. To be together and gather, even if you only see your neighbor once a year,
Mhm.
decorating a themed tree at the holiday home tour, or serving pie at the pie festival, or serving lemonade, it's still a connection. And I think we all learned in 2020 connection comes from so many different areas and is so vital for our attitude, our mental health, our engagement. Isolation is not the answer ever.
Well, going off of that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the physical environment of it all, because obviously celebration is a place. And so I want to talk for a second about the role of place, how it influences these relationships. You've touched on things like sidewalks, front porches, a lot of walking. I mean, obviously driving, but a lot of walking is taking place. So, what role do you see place having in the fostering of community? And then also, does that, especially with now it being, I think you said 30 years, are you seeing younger generations that are raised in celebration engaging and behaving in different ways than perhaps other areas because of just how the exposure to these sorts of things?
I most certainly think sense of place has played a unbelievable role in having people come outside of their homes, be proud of where they live. We're separated into villages. We used to have village games and being competitive with each other. I think the HOA rules, which are clearly stated when you purchase the home, are at a high level because aesthetically, they want our sense of place to be pleasing. People really step up to that level. I remember a story. We moved from New Jersey in 2009, and I love pumpkins. I'm a pumpkin collector. I love the color orange. My pumpkins go up Labor Day Monday and don't come
Love it.
down until the Friday after Thanksgiving. But we lived in on an acre in New Jersey in a big subdivision. I decorated on the inside.
Hmm.
All my pumpkins. I had stuff around the front porch, but nothing like the inside. And when we moved down here, my pumpkins came in the pod, and Labor Day Monday, I put all my pumpkins up inside. And I remember driving my second grade daughter to school. And as we were driving, she turned to me and said, Mom, you have this celebration thing all wrong. And I said, How so? And she said, Look around. They decorate on the outside. And it's true. This community decorates so spectacularly for almost any occasion. So the sense of place plays a huge role. The walking trails, the activities that draw people out. You
Hmm.
might start in one village and then you just end up in conversation. All of a sudden, you're in another village.
Is the entire town walkable? As you're saying that, that makes me curious. So is the whole town walkable and you can go village to village?
Yes. I live in Artisan Park and our office is in the town center. Both my admin and I live in Artisan Park and we can bike or walk. And we
Wow.
talked about doing that for work. She just walked the other day. I have biked in the past, but it's very sprawling. Island Village is our newest village, but we can still, again, walk or bike to it.
Yeah,
Many
Google
places,
says, I mean, this is Google's answer. Who knows if it's exactly right, but it
right?
says it spans approximately 10 and a half square miles and is home to a population of about 13,667 residents.
Sounds about right. I had us between 12,000 and 15,000
Okay.
residents.
Did you want to speak at all to what it's like for, you kind of mentioned your daughter even taking notice right away of just the aesthetic. Well, she was in second grade at the time. So really your daughter was raised in kind of the way that I'm asking. So have you noticed perhaps what being raised in New Jersey would have looked like versus her being raised in Celebration, Florida, as far as community?
Yes. And I am going to circle back to your original question. We are now starting to say that children that were raised here are
Mhm.
moving back here to raise their families. It is their roots. And I do remember, I only have one daughter, my favorite child. Um, the very first Halloween that she was at college, she called me and said, I miss our Halloween in Celebration. And it made me think if she doesn't boomerang back here, she is going to compare wherever she lands to Celebration. And it was a charmed childhood. Had we remained in New Jersey, I think she would have spent weekends in the mall due to weather, whereas she was more outside and involved in the community, most certainly volunteering. I do see the younger generation coming back and have their children then go to school. Some teachers are posting on social media, I had your mom. It really has become home.
I won't say no one, but a lot of people are kind of spread out all over the place. Perhaps they're not living near family now. They've taken a job elsewhere. The world looks a lot different than it used to. Modern convenience changes the way that we interact. I mean, you don't even have to go to a grocery store anymore. You can get everything delivered. For people who are craving community, is there something that you think an individual could learn from Celebration about how to do that? But also, if there's, what could a town learn from Celebration and how to engage its community?
Well, let's start with the individual. All of us have opportunities every day for kindness, connection, inclusivity. It could be making eye contact with your Amazon driver, waving as you take your trash out. Those small connections matter. I mean, you said it. The corner grocery store used to be where you saw neighbors, where you exchanged recipes. I say all the time, if my grandmother saw me buying baked cookies and lettuce already chopped up, oh, she would be so mad at me because she taught me how to chop lettuce and make a salad.
Yep.
she taught me how to bake cookies. But the world has evolved and given us different options. So I think always one person can start connection and can fuel a sense of community
Yeah.
with a neighbor, most certainly, again, an elderly neighbor, senior citizen, a child, if they drop their backpack, go run into the bus. But on a larger scale, I think that we all want to give. We just may not know how. I would say seek out already existing organizations to be part of that community. Or if you see something, if you want to see some change in the world, then let it begin with you.
What do you think it is that is keeping a community together for decades?
It's the human capital. Yes, it's the events and so forth. But after those events are concluded,
Mm-hmm.
friendships have been formed. They run into each other in Publix in aisle 10 and they reconnect. So it may begin with events and traditions, but it keeps going because of the individuals.
Do you feel like it's self-sufficient and that you're creating opportunities for connection, or do you feel like people are relying on those events and traditions to form those friendships and relationships?
I would say it is the traditions and the events that the residents gravitate towards, whether they're new or established. They are the vocal point. I would like to say that the foundation, I feel like we're the heart of the community. We offer opportunities for people to get involved, as does the HOA. I think knowing that that's there comforts a lot of residents, whether they're new and established, and then they determine when they want to lean in and get more involved. So I definitely think the traditions and events most certainly give them a reason.
What's something easy people can do to either host or engage their neighbors? So many people know their neighbors, but they're not friends with their neighbors.
I spoke about the Lights and Lemonade and the foundation, and I want you to know we make it really easy. They actually come and pick up a bag for porch parties and Lights and Lemonade supplies. It has everything they need except the cookies and the actual lemonade. So I think keeping it simple is the key. Recently, a new family moved in, and all they took was a sidewalk chalkboard, and they literally wrote, "We would like to meet everyone, stop by for coffee and cookies from 9 to noon." I thought that was genius. So everybody that walked their dog and walked past for exercise saw this and then went to meet their new neighbors. So I would say something that has food
Mm-hmm.
and just something simple. And people will come and make the time if they're also looking for the connection. I love me a good lawn sign. I believe in the power of lawn signs. So when 2020 happens, I had just started as the executive director in 2019. I was given this beautiful budget. I was given a year of events that were already planned by my predecessor. And March 2020 happens. So the very first thing I do is I call our partners, which happens to be the school district and Advent Health of Celebration. I asked them, how can we help? Advent Health and said, Kathleen, we want to ask you to ask people to stay home. Till we find out more about this, just stay home. I know you're going to want to do car parades. I know you're going to want to do things, but we're going to just ask you to communicate to stay home until we know more. And I went home that night and I was like, I'm a helper. So I thought, well, we can help them by supporting them with words. So I sent out an email to our board of directors, which is all volunteers, and asked them to send me some words of inspiration. What would lift them up? And I reached out to a printer and said, I'd like these lawn signs made. He actually lived in town. I asked him to make the signs and he sent me the proofs. He said, even though it's great what you're saying, it's all just black and white words. Like, I can't imagine just people reading that. And I said, oh, well, we're going to surround the hospital with it. We're going to plant them right so that everybody going into the hospital to work will see it. And he's like, it's just a lot of words. And I said, oh gosh, just make some lawn signs with a big red heart on it. Just make some and we'll put them in between the words. And the heart sign became almost our logo of the foundation. You can take it to all different levels. The block that I live on, we have a unofficial block captain. who organizes us when there's a hurricane brewing. He gets all of our names, our contact information, if we have pets in the house, if we're on medications.
Wow.
Um, and we then get jobs that if the hurricane comes, what are you responsible for? What are you responsible for? And I'm typically pumpkin bread and making the coffee because
Oh, that
some
is so
people,
fitting.
yes, because some people won't help you clean up after a hurricane unless you give them a cup of coffee. So it really starts simply and then becomes something so much more. That would be my advice.
Celebration, I think, was initially almost marketed as like this, small town USA, like everything is perfect here. So are there misconceptions that people have?
I believe the misconceptions are very simple as well. They don't have to be complicated. We live here. We work here, we go to work, our children go to school. It is a real living, breathing town full of residents. We're not the Stepford wives. We are regular, everyday people that chose to follow our dreams and move to Florida, but just chose to come to the town that Disney built.
Can I ask what brought you there?
Yes, and I'm working on brevity. Um, So we were big Disney people. So we came down several times a year and we always stayed on Disney property, but we would leave Disney property every year to go to Charlie's Steakhouse on Route 192 and get the best steak ever. One year we left Disney, and when we went to the steakhouse, there was a big billboard that said, "Town coming soon." And so I said, "Oh, that wasn't there last time. Pull over, see what that's all about." So we pulled over, and there were two construction trailers in a big field that the door was just swinging in the wind. And I went in, nobody was in there. It was about 7 o'clock at night. But there was a lot of Disney memorabilia and there was a lot of pieces of paper. And I just went down the row and I took every single one. And we went over, and while we were eating steak, we read about this. I grew up in a small town, Ocean City, New Jersey. And I said, "Oh, this sounds like Ocean City, New Jersey, but with sunshine every day." And that year, I think we got 47 inches of snow total over the course of time. And our daughter was in school because of snow days till almost July 4th. We took a leap of faith. We landed here in 2009, and I have not regretted it ever.
Oh, that's so fun.
I do miss fall. I do
Oh,
miss
I was
the
going to
leaves.
say the pumpkin lady. You might
Yeah.
miss fall, right? I like to end with something a little reflective. So, if someone visited Celebration for one day, one afternoon, you mentioned you have these events where you get thousands and upon thousands of visitors. What is it that you hope they're taking away from Celebration, noticing when they leave, those sorts of things?
I would hope that they would see our hearts. I would hope they would notice the rocking chairs and notice families walking, biking, and engaging with each other. I would hope that would be their takeaway, the interaction or meeting a resident that lives here, hearing the joy in their voice when they talk about their home, because this is our home.
Now, you mentioned that Celebration is a gateless community. You welcome visitors. You have events where the public is welcome, not just residents. So, how might someone stay in touch with the foundation and learn about these sorts of events and how they can get involved?
Well, always the website, celebrationfoundation.org. We can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are in Town Center. You most certainly can stop by, or you can call us. Our phone does ring randomly about questions. And we actually had a couple from New Jersey come in for a spontaneous walking tour just because they wanted to hear more. So stop by and get to know us.
I'll add that I'll put all the links I can find into the show notes of the episode so that if someone is driving right now or just, can't navigate to those at the moment, they'll have an opportunity to do so later. Kathleen, it was such a pleasure to speak with you. I appreciate you sharing not only your story and your experience as a resident of Celebration, but as a representative of the foundation and just helping us to build a community on our own as well. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity. And I know that everyone has their own community and just continue to grow it and connect. And we are all like-hearted more than we know.